Unforgettable energy, unique vocals, and thrilling songs. Those are only some of the elements that make my next guest performances an absolute must-see. A rising star of country rock music, he performed at the Country Music Festival in Mrągowo last weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Canada, Anthony Tullo. Thank you for coming here.
Cieszę się, że tu jestem.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. I would like to start from the beginning because I've been reading up on you. And I found out that you've been involved in directing, in acting, in screenwriting, and yet you chose music. So how did it all start?
Well, I wrote, produced, and directed a film a few years back called The Secret Cross. And in doing so, I won the International Award of Excellence in Los Angeles and got distribution in LA. And so the film took on a life of its own. However, a producer came on board, and he was a music producer, and he had asked me about who wrote the last song of the film, Darlington, and I told him I did, and he just suggested to me that I should highly consider putting out my music, and that's when it all started.
So did you actually get some sort of a producer to actually back you up, or did you have to go through the whole process on your own?
Oh, the whole process. It's been a long process, but I immediately got a radio tracker and I got involved, and immediately my songwriting was recognized very quickly. But of course, it's a long process in this business to, like the song says, it's a long, long time to rock and roll. It takes a long time to get there, yeah.
As I was reading, I also found information about you creating and making music since a very young age. So I was wondering, where do you take your inspiration from? Because country rock is a very specific kind of music.
Yeah, it is. And when I was like a boy younger, obviously my father, my mother would listen to a lot of country, Willie Nelson and Alabama. I remember all these greats, Johnny Cash, But as I grew up, I got involved a lot in classic rock. Bryan Adams, and of course, was my idol. And, all these other great bands, that were around at the time. And so what happens is I had influence from both sides. So when I started writing, naturally, I had both elements in my music. And I thought, well, it sounds like I'm more of a, Americana rock with country influences, I should say. That's my sound, country rock.
Yeah, but I'm also actually quite interested. You're coming from Canada.
Right.
And country in general seems like a very American sort of music. How do you find yourself, and how do you transmit some of the Canadian influences into your music to make it yours?
Well, you're right to say that a lot of the bigger, more established country comes from the States. That's true.
Known worldwide.
Known worldwide, of course. Canada, though, to be perfectly honest with you, is a lot more folky. It's a lot more folk country. And although it has its place, I'm not really a big fan of it. So where in America, you've got a little more modern country with a little more backbeat to it. So I just went in a whole different direction. I just said, folk, no. Modern country, a little bit. Classic rock, yes. Let's put it together. And so in Canada, obviously, a lot of the influences at radio are going to be from the States because the big names are there. But a lot of the traditional stuff from Canada is more on the folk country side, and now it's growing, of course, in leaps and bounds.
You mentioned Bryan Adams, and I had those two very interesting quotes. One from Inside Halton, calling your story the Cinderella story of country music industry, and Music and Now and Then magazine saying you're Bryan Adams of country rock music. How does that make you feel? Because it's referring directly to your idol.
It makes me feel incredible. And the whole Cinderella story thing comes from the fact that I was nominated at the CMAOs. I was nominated Top 5 Male Artist of the Year. However, thank you. The other 4 artists, though, all had labels, radio, huge stuff. And I didn't have any of that. And I was there, and they're like thinking, who's this guy that got the 5th spot over everybody? So it's like almost like a Cinderella, it's like a Rocky story, the Rocky, coming out from the bottom, he's not at the top. That's where that came from. As far as the quote with Bryan Adams, it so happened to be that when I got the top 5, a fan of mine tweeted out to the public at social media that I got my top 5, and she says, well, he's been told by somebody at the CMA, it sneaked through that he sounds like Bryan Adams, but it's country. And so Bryan Adams took the time to send her a heart, congratulating me to her.
That's always a big thing, a big part of your work, the thing you do, right?
That was
When you
shocking
actually
because
see.
Brian probably gets thousands of. So he took the time to do that, and then I took the time to call Keith Scott on the phone, and I said I'd like to meet Brian. I ended up being backstage at the Scotia Centre with Keith Scott. Never got to meet Brian because he had to do something with another artist that was in town at the time, but we had a great time. It was great.
But still, just sharing, it's an amazing experience. So this weekend you performed in Mrągowo in one of the biggest country festivals in this part of Europe.
Right.
And I was wondering, what's your feeling about it? What's your experience about the Polish audience, about the feeling of it all? Because it's quite an established festival already in Poland.
Well, I'm an honest guy, and I'm just going to tell you to you straight. It was an amazing experience, first of all. Incredible. Anytime you can get on a stage and have 5,000 people just appreciate you, it's a feeling you can't explain unless you're there and you're doing it, right? So having said that, an artist that's had a few hits on radio can get that in Canada. But one that hasn't rarely gets that. But in Poland, they're so into their music. It's unbelievable. If they like what they hear, they're crazy. They just go for it. So it was something I won't forget.
So it's the energy of the audience that is different from other countries.
It was the energy of the audience, and I had a great, like Krzysztof Potocki was there on drums. I had a great band, Marcin and Michael and Flavio, great band behind me, and just a beautiful stage and production. It was fantastic.
But how did you actually get to Poland, to this festival?
How did I get there?
Yeah.
I fell from an air balloon, just landed in.
I was just traveling over Poland and decided to jump
There's
in.
a friend of mine, Jacek Wilczynski. He's a good friend of mine, and he's my bass player out in Canada. He contacted Igor Jacek, who actually heard my stuff and got the ball rolling. And here we are 1 year later with a song that's going to be coming out and premiering on radio and the video, and there I am on Mrągowo. Like you said, it happens quickly when it happens.
So what do you think about Poland? Have you had any chance to actually travel around Poland to see some of the most beautiful landmarks and cities, or was it just the performance?
Well, when you're looking at a building and it says 1812, or it's just amazing how long this country's been around, and I've been to Old Lublin. I thought Old Lublin was incredible, was beautiful, so different than Canada, just a lot of culture, the cafes in the middle of the street and the gates, the Viking gates, you're going, wow. And how all the little apartments are lit up, just beautiful, yeah, beautiful.
So are you planning to actually see anything more here in Poland? Do you have any travel plans, or are you going back to Canada anytime soon?
Well, no, I'm still here for a little while, actually, and I'm going to be playing another festival coming up in the middle of August, and we're going to be visiting some more places, even maybe here in Warsaw, and there's a lot to see in this country. So,
I also wanted to go back to the festival once again. Yeah. I'm wondering, country music is because we're more folk
yes.
in terms of the music that we produce, and I was wondering, why do you think there is such an interest in country music here in Poland specifically? Because this very festival was actually developed here.
Yes. Well, when I was hearing the bands at Mrągowo, they were very folk, okay? And I remember telling my team, are they going to throw bottles at me or something? Because I'm so edgy. I'm almost rock country, and no one here is playing that. And the band team was saying, no. In fact, the producer said, it's going to be refreshing to have that energy on stage. So I went on a little nervous thinking, oh man, I hope I don't get booed off here because my sound is, completely the opposite. But to the contrary, it was incredible. The audience just rose, from the dead, it was great. So,
in terms of country music, do you find a tendency that people from interested in other genres also jump into your music and they enjoy it? Or do you only stick to the venues that specifically focus on country music?
Now, I would say that there's a lot of fans that say, I don't listen to country, but I'll listen to you.
Oh.
And I'll say, okay, because it has that rock edge. Then there's those that like country that say, oh, you've got the country edge. So I'm a hybrid between the two, which means I can do more. Rock festival, country festival. I'm a hybrid. It's a risk, but if people love it, you get more, out of it.
So could you spill some beans for us and tell us what are the plans, what are the next steps for you? Are you planning to release anything new in the time to come?
Yes, the song written by Igor Yashik called Only She. It was written by him and performed by myself and Jegosh Wilks, I believe is how you say his last name. We both it's a duet, Canadian and Polish. And it will be premiering very soon on, it'll also premiere the video, which we shot in Canada and Poland.
Oh,
so
whereabouts?
It was shot in Warsaw, and it was shot back home in Oakville and other parts of Canada. So it's a combination of both. That will premiere very soon also, and that's getting out there. And then I will be playing the Optimist Festival. I think it's the 19th, 20th, where they're awarding me an award there or something like that.
So many awards, congratulations.
Yeah.
What about, I'm interested in the collaboration with Polish musicians, because it seems like there's a large group of Polish people playing with you. Yes. You as a vocalist and as a songwriter and a music creator, you have to make creative decisions about your team.
Right.
Why did you decide to have so many Polish people around you? Was it more by an accident, or was it a conscious decision?
No, it was a conscious decision, because when I had received the song Only She from Igor, he loved my songs and praised them, but he had written one and he thought that would be great for me. And so, being that he's the one who's going to bring me here and everything, he asked if I would do it, and I said, of course, it'll be the first one out of the gate. And we were producing it, and we did produce it with only me singing. But then he said, what would be a great idea is if we did this kind of like a duet. We got a guy in there who's Polish, who's kind of well known. It would have more of an impact. What do you think? And I said, that's a great idea. So from that point, that's where they got Jegosh to come on board from Warsaw. And as far as the band goes, that was something that was put together by Christoph and Igor. They had put together, because I certainly couldn't fly a band over, that would be too much money. So they said, we'll have a band for you. And the band they have here is unbelievable. These players are unbelievable in Poland. So that's how that came to be.
Lovely. I'm going to look forward to the premiere of the duet. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest was Mr. Anthony Tullo. My name is Klaudia Czerwińska and you're watching Poland In.